Talk Viewpoint. I'm your host, Chantel Leeson. We are the Virtual Family Office podcast. We're professionals, accountants, attorneys, CPAs, wealth advisors, financial advisors, and other trusted professionals share their expertise. Our specialty is virtual family office, but many people listen to us because on the way to get there, you've got to learn the right strategies. My special guest today is Kevin Gutman. He's a certified reverse mortgage professional. He'll share with you some ideas on how he's helped people from middle market all the way up to those with $10 million homes use a reverse mortgage to finance their dreams. Listen in as we are engaged in just an impromptu conversation. I was a vice president for JP Morgan. I was an investment vice president for JP Morgan. I've been in the industry over 30 years. I worked for Ameriprise Financial for a very long time, but didn't end on good terms. So that happens in life. But I worked for Edward D. Jones before that. I started on Wall Street in New York. I used to work on background in underwriting. Then I went to California. I went to Northern Cal to Palo Alto, and there I worked in underwriting for initial public offers and private placements. So it's been all basically the investment industry. And I got to tell you, before all that, I was actually in undergrad in chemistry. So I wanted.
Oh my goodness.
But they're not uncommon. Many people that study sciences wind up in Wall Street positions. So it's very commonplace, believe it or not. And now what were you before real estate? You were always real estate?
Yeah, I grew up around real estate. My dad was a realtor and investor. But the first 12 years of my career I spent in the nonprofit world. I used to travel around the country and raise money for people in the developing world to have clean water, medical clinics, schools, small business loans. And then I left that and we started flipping houses, which was a ton of fun. And ultimately, 21 years ago, got in the mortgage industry. 10 years ago, started doing reverse mortgages. And I really like that demographic. People always ask me, why reverse mortgages? I'm like, well, I enjoy the seniors. I just like that demographic, and I like the program too. So anyway, I wrote this new book. So you remember you interviewed me before about ultra high net worth.
Yeah. That's
people.
what I do.
Yep. And then now this book is just about real stories of how people have used their equity to improve their lives in 4 areas: either eliminating their payment, access to their equity, financing another home, or refinancing their current reverse mortgage. So it's just stories that of how people have used it,
I'm glad you brought that up. I think because the present, there's a lot of discontent and a lot of happiness based on the present administration. I think that a lot of people who are already very wealthy can pretty much, I think that the affluent people are more predisposed to finding ways to make more money.
Agreed.
And they're always looking for ways to make more money. I think it's the middle market person who's trying to move up the ladder. They're high net worth, but not ultra high net worth. And what I do is family office. Family office is primarily for ultra high net worth. Virtual family office for middle market moving up to high net worth. So what I look at are educating people on ways that they can leverage what they have to get more of what they want for themselves and for their lives. And what you do in reverse mortgage really tacks onto that, because not only do you do reverse mortgages for the ultra wealthy, you do reverse mortgages for middle market that are moving up to the ultra wealthy. Am I correct in saying that?
That's true. Yeah.
Could you share more about what you do to our audience here? I was going to do a preliminary, but I said, forget it. You know this stuff like the back of your hand. There's no preliminary needed for you.
You want to just do it now?
You don't need a preliminary. I said, just as hop right into this and we'll just go right through it.
How long is your podcast?
My podcast, you know what? I got to tell you, I got to send you a link to my podcast. You would love the channel. They cover a lot of material. And we cover a lot for the affluent market, but they do the same thing. They talk about how they help other middle market people move up to the affluent market. I have a couple other people that work as hosts. One of the guys is a former Wall Street guy, and I asked him, I said, would you just be a host for my channel? And the other one you met Dennis Williams. Dennis has hosted. Yeah. Dennis has hosted several of my shows. So I
like Dennis a lot.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. But I let them take
he's really sharp.
from what they do. So it's been a very, very good show. And I was in Europe over the Christmas holiday season. I met with one of my hosts in London, and he sent me the clip to talk about the economy because they've got a new prime minister, Starmer, and
Yeah,
they're going through what everybody's. Germany's got a new prime minister. I think a lot of the global countries are looking at new. I think people in general and countries around the world are looking for ways to make more money, to make better assets, to grow their wealth, and they're always looking for opportunities. So he's going to talk about the economy. Then I met. I think I don't know if you met Jackie Mueller. She's from a previous show, and she's coming back on to talk about the emotions of money because you think about it, we don't think about this, but money is based on emotion. So she
yeah,
covered that. She's going to cover a lot about that, and I'll be talking to her in a couple of days. So let's go back to you and tell us more about tell the audience about what you do.
yeah. So, just a little history on reverse mortgages, and I know you probably know all this, and maybe some of your audience knows, but the very first reverse mortgage was taken out in 1961. It was a widow who could no longer afford to stay in her home, and she still had a mortgage payment. She knew the local banker, who, ironically enough, knew the widow's husband, because he was the football coach, and he had played football for the coach. And so they got together and talked about it, and she said, I can't afford to stay in my home. He went to his bank and said, look, what if we suspend this widow's mortgage payments so that she can stay in her home? She has a lot of equity. She's, senior citizen. So that's exactly what they did. So no more mortgage payments. She could stay in her home. And what happened, Chantel, is for 27 years, it was kind of the Wild West. In other words, there wasn't regulation, there wasn't guidelines, there wasn't oversight. And frankly, seniors got taken advantage of. They would lose their homes. They, gave up title, et cetera, et cetera. That's why people think even today, 2025, oh, I know I have to give up title to my home. That is not true. People stay on title the whole time. They never go off title. So in a nutshell, here's what a reverse mortgage helps somebody do. Remain in their home and age in place. Access their equity, which is tax-free. The source of tax-free, can't say it's income because income's tax, but it's a source of tax-free money. They maintain their independence. They can entertain the lifestyle they've worked for and dreamed of. They can use the money however they wish. There's no restriction on how they use the money, except the one thing they can't do is buy an annuity with those proceeds. That's the only restriction. So really all it does is it just gives people more money to use in their daily living and their budget, to pay their bills, to take vacations, to help their kids or their grandkids, help their church or favorite charity, etc. So it just gives them a little breathing room. That's really what it allows them to do.
You know, but the mistake and it could be just me saying this, but many people are under the impression that reverse mortgages are just for the average or people that are struggling to make ends meet. But that's not the truth, is it? What's the real picture?
Well, that's a great question. In fact, even now, I'm looking at my loans in my pipeline. I have people right now that are using it who quote unquote don't need it. They're not last resort people. Why? Because one, they don't have a source of tax-free income. Two, they don't necessarily want to pull money out of the market when it's going up, right? Maybe when it's coming down they can, but they don't want to do it when it's going up. Three, they do want to help their kids either buy their first home, or maybe they want to start another business, or maybe they want to buy a second home, and they don't want to deplete other assets. So they take the equity from their home and they repurpose it to do other things that they want to do with their dreams and visions and things they want to do throughout their life. But we call it, Chantel, giving with a warm hand instead of giving with a cold hand. The warm hand is you're giving it while you're still here. You can kind of coach whoever you're giving the money to help them, to guide them. The cold hand is when you're in the grave and you can't be around to watch or help or guide. And obviously people want to see the good they're doing with their money, right, while they're still here.
You and I talked, we had a show we did a couple of years ago, and you talked about reverse mortgages for the ultra high net worth. Can you share that for the people that have houses that are 10 or $20 million? A lot of people at that market level, I'm sure they don't even, unless you are advised by a professional, you don't even know what is at your disposal. And then many of us as professionals sometimes misinterpret that because a person is rich, they probably already know. Well, that is not true. They need help just as much as the middle market does. They just want to make sure they have the right level of help. Can you share with our audience here? Because we do with a lot of ultra high net worth in family office and virtual family office.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we do have 3 lenders in the country that will do what's called a jumbo reverse mortgage or proprietary reverse mortgage. So most reverse mortgage are the FHA backed reverse mortgage. The jumbo is 1 to 10 million in value, and you can borrow about 35%. So at 10 million, you're borrowing 3.5 million. At 1 million, you're borrowing 350,000. It depends on your age, the interest rate, and the value of your home. That determines how much you can borrow, those 3 factors. But what it does is it just gives somebody access. So think about this, Chantel. Let's say somebody owns a $5 million home.
Yeah.
Beautiful home, right? And let's just say, for sake of example, they own it outright. They have no mortgage against it. Well, how have they gotten to where they are in life? Most people have used leverage. Most people have borrowed money to get ahead, whether it's through a home or a business or whatever it would be. So now they've got $5 million sitting there and it's dead equity. They can't get to it. Right. There's only 3 ways any of us can access our equity. 1, we sell our house, pay the realtor fees. What is it, 6%, right? We do a cash out, refinance, or a home equity line of credit, have a mandatory payment. Or 3, we do a reverse mortgage. The reverse mortgage is the only mortgage where there's no payment required. You can access your equity and you don't have a monthly payment, nor are you responsible to pay it back, because these loans are called non-recourse loans. So when somebody takes out a traditional mortgage, like let's say, Chantel, you and your husband go in and get a mortgage, you are personally liable for that note. You sign your name and you're the ones liable to pay it back. That is not the case with a reverse mortgage, because they're non-recourse loans. The only recourse the lender has is against the sale or refinance of the home. That's the only way the lender can get their money back. The borrower is not personally liable to pay it back. Why is that important? Because no debt can be passed on to the heirs, to the estate, or to the borrowers. So let me talk real quick how they're different from a traditional reverse mortgage. Traditional reverse mortgages have lower rates, higher fees. Proprietary reverse mortgages have higher rates, lower fees. Because with the traditional reverse mortgage, the FHA version, they come with mortgage insurance, 2% upfront mortgage insurance. So you have $1 million home, you're paying $20,000 in mortgage insurance. That's why people always say these loans are expensive. They are, because of the mortgage insurance. With a proprietary, there's no mortgage insurance. The way they compensate for that is they charge a higher interest rate. So that's a little snapshot of what it looks like. But yeah, we have lenders that will go 1 to 10 million in value, and you can borrow about 35 to 40% on average, and you don't have to pay it back, and you can use the money however you want. So you're right, people don't know about it, which is why we're trying to get the word out.
Yeah, I'm always amazed at what people don't know, and when you make that assumption, because I live in an area there's some extremely wealthy people, and when I sit down and talk to them about anything that I do, I'm always amazed at what that they don't know what I thought they would have known, and so I had to develop a habit of stop assuming. We have a habit of assuming that we use all these acronyms and terms and verbiage that many people do not understand. I don't care how rich they are or how not rich they are. It's pretty much the same. What people do is they know a lot about their particular area of expertise. If they're athletes, they know about sports. If they are builders, they know about building, but they don't necessarily know about other aspects of what's going on in the market.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because we always encourage people, talk to the people in your life that are important to you, your advisors, your family, etc. And sometimes it's a double-edged sword, because it's exactly what you just said. They're smart, like a CPA is smart with taxes, right? An estate planning attorney is smart with estate planning. A financial planner is smart with investments. But they don't always go on the other side of the balance sheet, the debt side. And there's so much misinformation out there. In fact, I just wrote a blog why Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman are wrong about reverse mortgages. Because here's Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman. A lot of people listen to them, read them. They're on the radio, etc. And they're just wrong. They're 100% wrong about their view of reverse mortgages. And if people subscribe to that, they're misinformed. And like, well, Dave Ramsey says they're bad, they must be bad. Well, he's not trained, he's not licensed, he's not up to date on the guidelines and the changes that have been made, especially since 2015. But he calls himself an entertainer. And so, and a lot of people listen to him, and he has that debt snowball, which is great. But when it comes to things that he doesn't know a lot about, and he speaks about them so emphatically, like I'll give you a quick story. There's a video rant out there of him saying, you know, this 92-year-old man in Chicago is losing his home because he has a reverse mortgage. Well, when you dig a little deeper, the man hasn't paid his property taxes. So Chantel, listen, whether you have a mortgage, a reverse mortgage, or no mortgage, if you don't pay your property taxes, they're going to foreclose on you. The county is coming to foreclose on you. If you have a mortgage, you're just going to do it through the mortgage company. But to say that is just disingenuous. It's not true. It has nothing to do with him having a reverse mortgage. He didn't pay his property taxes. That's why he's getting foreclosed on. And it's just things like that that are out there that are just 100% inaccurate.
You know what it is, though? It's called hearsay. What happens is that people repeat information without going back to gather their facts. And I don't care what the profession is, what area of business you are. A lot of time people do that. Someone tells you something and you run you run with that information without doing the background check to find out for yourself. I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have known that had you not mentioned just this one point. We would have felt sorry for the man losing his house and thought the government's fault, the bank's fault for not helping the man keep his house at his age. But there you are, someone that didn't pay the property tax.
So quick follow-up on that. I mentioned 2015. You know, there were some sweeping changes that happened with HUD and Congress in 2015, specifically around the reverse mortgage product. So prior to 2015, let's say there's a couple and one of them is over 62 and one of them is not. So they're a non-borrowing spouse.
Okay.
Now, if the borrower moved out of the house and had a reverse mortgage, the non-borrower would have had to move out. So let's say it's the wife. She's lived there 30 years and now she has to move because she's a non-borrowing spouse. Well, they fixed that. 2015, they fixed that. Now the non-borrowing spouse has the same rights as the borrower with one exception. Once the borrower moves out, if they're a non-borrowing spouse, they cannot access their equity. There's still no payment required. They can live in the home as long as they pay the property taxes, insurance on time, maintain the home to age 150. But they just can't access the equity. That's the only difference. The other thing they changed, and there were some other ones too, but I'll hit the two big ones. The other one they changed goes back to this man, this 92-year-old man. So prior to 2015, if you were old enough and had enough equity, you could prove your identity, you got a reverse mortgage. That's how easy it was. Had enough equity, old enough, could prove your identity. So what we had people like this gentleman in Chicago who couldn't afford to pay his property tax. Today, people have to show income to prove they have enough money to pay the property taxes, insurance, maintenance on the home. Now, most people qualify with just their Social Security. So it's still pretty easy to qualify. It's a lot easier to qualify for a reverse mortgage than a traditional mortgage or a HELOC. But they changed that after 2015 because there was too high of a rate of foreclosure. There was people getting reverse mortgages who truly couldn't even afford to pay the property taxes and insurance on the home. They fixed that.
Wow. I want to go back to one other thing. We talked about the affluent people, and you're helping them getting reverse mortgages. The places around the country that do that. What are the limitations of what they can do with that money once they have access to it under reverse mortgage?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's kind of like your fingerprint, right? It's unique. So you may use it to buy a second home. Your neighbor may use it to start a business. The other guy across the street may use it to help his kids buy a house. It's unlimited. You can do anything you want. There's no restriction on it. The only thing, and I know this because I have friends in the insurance industry, if you go get an annuity they will ask, as a question on the application, are these funds from a reverse mortgage? That's the only restriction there is. You can do anything else you want with that money. Think of it this way, and I actually like annuities. I'm not against annuities. Annuity is a guaranteed income stream. So you already have that with your reverse mortgage. You've already unlocked part of your equity, and you've paid fees to do that. The government doesn't want you to lock up that money for a certain time period, right? Because sometimes they have a surrender period before you can get the money. They don't want you to do that or pay more fees to get money when you've already accessed it. So that's why they restrict it.
I want to address the issue of reverse mortgages because Susie Orman is one of the people that doesn't like reverse mortgages. She's like Dave Ramsey when it comes to reverse mortgages. No, Susie Orman doesn't like annuities. She's like Dave Ramsey when it comes to mortgages. And I think it's not about the product. It's about the proper fit. And there's no one specific product that fits all. I think one of the problems that happens in our industry, having been so many years in the financial advisor, is that unfortunately a lot of it is based on commission. What bids the highest commission will rush and sell that product. So it's not a one size fit all for annuities. And what I'd like to liken a reverse mortgage to is an annuity because it pays you. And if I'm correct, annuity will pay you for life if you set it up properly. And for some people, it's one of the best things they can have. They have their Social Security and their annuity, and you can't tap those two. Same thing with a reverse mortgage.
Yeah, so let's talk about the three ways people use reverse mortgages. You're exactly right. The most popular way people use it is to eliminate their monthly principal and interest mortgage payment. About 2/3 of people use it that way. They make their monthly mortgage payment optional, or they don't have to pay it at all. The second way, which is how the widow, 1961, that's how she used it. The second way people use it is how you're describing, access their equity. And they can access their equity three ways: lump sum, monthly payments, or a line of credit. I had a financial planner call me up one time and he goes, "Hey, I figured out the secret sauce of these reverse mortgages." I'm like, "Oh, really? What is it?" He goes, "Just a line of credit." I'm like, "You're right." Why? Because the line of credit, let's just take the average scenario. They're going to borrow 35 to 40%. So on a $1 million home, we're going to say it's 350 to 400. Now, they've got this amount in a line of credit that's going to grow by compound interest. Albert Einstein said it's the eighth wonder of the world. It's insured. It's protected from the market. Let's say the market goes down 10%. Now the property is only worth 900. Line of credit is protected. We can't say that about a home equity line of credit. Home equity line of credit can be cut, frozen, or the full payment demanded. That's in the note. They can do all that stuff. That can never happen with a reverse mortgage. Now they've got this line of credit. It's insured. It's protected from the market. They are earning. I shouldn't say the word earning because they don't. Earning implies tax. It's growing by 7% a year, guaranteed compound interest, tax-free. And then the last one is they can convert it. It grows tax-free, and when they draw the money, it's tax-free. They can convert it to monthly payments. So people always say, when's the best time to get a reverse mortgage? I say the day you qualify. The day you're old enough. For a jumbo reverse mortgage, it's 55.
Okay.
Both borrowers need to be 55. For a traditional, it's 62. Just one needs to be 62. Okay, so now they're old enough. They have enough equity. They have the right property type: single-family home, townhome, patio home, condo, 2 to 4 unit complex as long as they occupy one of the units as their primary home. So now they have the right property type. They have enough income to prove they can pay the property taxes, insurance, maintenance on the home. They should get it then. Why? Because you're still working, and now you don't have to make a mortgage payment anymore. You can repurpose that mortgage payment and strengthen your retirement, or use it however you want. I always encourage people, if they don't have enough retirement funds, beef up that retirement while you're working. And then if they own their home outright, they just unlocked 35 to 40% of their equity. Now it's going to grow by compound interest. Let's just say, for example, 7% a year. So that money's going to double in 10 years with the rule of 72. So now they started with 300,000 at 62. Now at 72, they have 600,000 they can access. So another way people use it, you're asking how people use it. A lot of people can't qualify for or don't have long-term care insurance. You know, you've probably seen that study by Fidelity. A healthy 65-year-old couple is going to pay $315,000 in healthcare expenses. Have you seen that?
Right. Yes. Yes.
By
Yes.
Fidelity?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Well, how are you going to pay for that? Well, what I suggest for people is, hey, why don't you self-fund? You know, if you can't get long-term care, now some people just take money from their equity and buy a long-term care policy. That's the best. If your health and your money qualify for it, that's the best because you're shifting the risk. But if you can't, if your health won't let you get it, then you've self-funded your medical care to where when you get to the point, and all of us will at some point, we get to that point in life, we need a little more help, right? We need somebody to come in and cook for us, or clean, or run errands for us, or help us bathe or dress. Usually it's in your 80s, but now you're going to have a chunk of money that you can access to pay for that, and you can stay in your home.
That's the magic of it all. We've got about 10 minutes left. I want you to tell people two questions. One, is it just in the US they can use those reverse mortgages? Can they do it in Canada or other parts of the world? Two, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. There are about 13 countries in the world that have a form of a reverse mortgage. England, Australia, Korea, I'm not going to remember all of them, Canada, the US. It's pretty much the developed countries that have it. And usually what I like to do, Chantel, when I meet with people, we kind of have a 15-minute introductory call. And I just get to know them a little bit, find out their situation, see if this is a good fit for them. And within 15 minutes, they're going to know, and I'm going to know if it's a good decision or not. If it is, then we schedule a longer time and we explain it more in depth. And I give them some resources. Like I have a consumer guide that I've written, which people can get on my website, reversemortgagerevolution.com. And they can just put in their information, I think it's name and email, and it's sent to them. And it's 30 pages, and it just goes through the FAQs, it dispels the myths, it gives case studies and examples of what the numbers look like. It compares the jumbo with the reverse mortgage. It compares the reverse mortgage line of credit with a home equity line of credit. It compares traditional mortgage with reverse mortgage. There's just lots of good learning tools there, because you hit the nail on the head a few minutes ago when you said people don't know about how these work, and we can't assume that they do. So I have these tools to educate people how they can learn about it. I also have a YouTube channel called reversemortgage.video, and they can go and watch these educational videos and just learn about them incognito, so to speak. They don't have to reach out to me. They can just go and watch these 1 to 2 minute videos. The idea being, the more people learn about it, the more they understand it, the more comfortable they can get with it, and the more they can see how it might work for them. And then finally, I'm going to show you this. I just wrote this book. Grab a copy here. I just wrote this book called A Reverse Mortgage Changed My Life. And it's real stories of hope, courage, and inspiration. I interviewed 30 of my clients, and I just said, tell me your story. You know, why did you want to get a reverse mortgage? How has it helped you? And it's just so heartwarming just to see how so many lives have been changed. And this is just a sample, but it's kind of a good overview or a good snapshot of how people have used them to improve their lives. And that people can get this on Amazon. A Reverse Mortgage Changed My Life. So anyway, those are some resources that might help your audience.
What I'm going to do,
and how can they get?
I'm going to have all of your contact information at the end of the video. So those who are watching this video, even if they get the short form, I'm going to have all your contact information, where to reach and find out your book, because I think that we can't cover all this in this 30-minute presentation here, but I do want people to follow up with you. I think it's a night and day difference having someone, and I didn't even mention all of Kevin's credentials. He's got a yard full of credentials, but he's one of the few certified reverse mortgage professionals in the country. There's less than 200 of them in the country. Am I right?
Yeah.
You're one of the few. He's one of the few, and I wanted to bring that up. But I will have all your contact information at the end of the video. I do want people to know how to reach you, and we do work with a lot of people that specialize in virtual family office and family office. I know it's a strong market, but our huge middle market as well will be looking to reach out and where to find you. And Kevin, I hope this is a one-time visit for you. I want you to come back. and do future shows with
Well,
us.
thank you. I'm thrilled I can come back again, and it's always a delight to be with you, Chantel, and I'm so glad to hear how well you're doing, and I love your podcast, and I love the topic, and just to educate people about some of these tools is so important and so helpful. So thank you for the time.
Well, you'll get a copy of this for to put on your own channel. And thank you again for spending time with me today.
Okay, thank you, Chantel.
Bye bye now.